Okay. Again, go ahead and come over here to this repository. It's github.com/SciPenMan95 borders-backgrounds-layout. And it has some basic elements for us to get started. Okay? When you download it, go ahead and then open the code up in Visual Studio Code. All right? Visual Studio Code. There's a few things I want to highlight about this that I've made some changes. This is a standard website layout you can find on the W3 Schools site. Minor changes that are made to this because visually it makes more sense to do it this way. We have a sticky header. Y'all see what I mean by sticky header? Okay. Header stays at the top. The div at the bottom is positioned something like 250 pixels to come down below the sticky header. This gives you the ability to always see what your links are and so forth. Okay. The other change that was made is there is a 100 padding left and padding right is at 100 pixel instead of going all the way out, just to give a little bit of visual distinction on the page. These are the minor changes. If we go ahead and pull this up in Visual Studio Code, let me grab this and pull this over. We've got an images directory, just some basic images in here that we're going to use today in our project. Okay? All right. Once you open it, you can expand and contract the left window here so that you can have a little bit bigger display. A couple of highlighted elements I want to point out. We have our div, okay, called header, and we're choosing to use the old HTML for this instead of the modern HTML. Can anyone tell me why?
I think it's because W3 Schools made from the past, I think.
Well, let's talk about browser support, right? Not all browsers, not all phones yet. The browsers on your phones or other devices will support the newer tags. So you want to make sure that your site is as backwards compatible as possible. So by keeping it as div with a class name of header, we maintain that backward compatibility, right? Instead of having a nav element, we're just using another div with a class called nav, right? And you can see here that the header and the top nav classes, they're wrapped in this div here, okay, called header container. And if we look back at our code or our display, we can see that this is what we're seeing here, okay? All right. Let's refresh ourselves again a little bit on how we're causing the site to lay out, right? How we're causing everything to populate in certain areas. We can see we have a class called row. Then we have a class called left column. And if we take a look back again at our site, we can see that this is the left column. And these are divided up into smaller classes called cards. These are common nomenclatures for classes that you're going to find. Okay. And then below that we have another div with a class called right column. We can see that these will be over here on the right. Some of these you might use things like articles or sections or things like that to contain these other smaller areas. Okay? All right, any questions so far about the code?
Are you going to copy the whole code and then
No.
Okay.
This is in GitHub.
Oh,
It's in GitHub. So you just go right out to GitHub, and when we're done today with the class, you can go right out and check your code against what's there. Okay?
okay.
All right. Any other questions about the code that we have up here? Something that you're not sure of?
Can we just take one more look at that website that you was up to GitHub repository?
Okay. Again, if you're going to download it, just go to borders background layout, or what you can do is if you hover over this, it is background layout / archive refs heads main zip, right? But you can find it right here. Just go to here, download a zip. Okay? Yes.
Is it you have to download it SSH or HTTP?
You can use, it doesn't matter. It's the download for the zip is the same no matter if you're using SSH or, because you can see down here in the bottom left corner, it's HTTPS. This is concerning the HTTPS is concerning your GitHub command. SSH using it this direction. Everything down here is still, yeah, it's not changed because of these three. Okay? All right. So let's talk about some basic things here. First of all, we got our backgrounds and our borders. So if we're looking at our site, right now the background for this site is set to what?
Whatever the grayish color is.
Yeah, that is a background, but then there's some other backgrounds as well. You guys see what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So there is a background that's up here in the header div. There is a background here in the body. There is a background on the card. There is a background on the about me. There's a background, right? All of those have a different background color. So let's switch over real quick and let's open up Visual Studio Code. And we can see that this is our body for right here, right? And our body pretty much encompasses everything. So one of the things that we could do inside of our style is instead of saying background is that color, we could probably do something like this. Background dash image. And then let's do quotes, images. Let's see. Where's that thing at? Hexagon tiny background. That's what I want. Hexagon tiny background.jpg. Okay. Now, when we set that and we take a look at our site, we're not really seeing anything, right? So let's inspect, go through the troubleshooting process, and click on your network tab, bring that up a little bit, refresh your page, and everything is copacetic there, right? So let's look at our style. There's our images, header, tiny background.jpg. Does that match what is, this is kind of, does that match what is here? Let's see, where are you at? Hexagon tiny-background.jpg images. All right, there's our images. So, what do you guys think we're missing?
The URL.
Very good. Very good.
There you go.
So let's
What changes did you make? Was trying to.
let's refresh it and then we'll go back and look at that again. Now we have the background is set, right? And it's scrolling. And it wraps. All right, that's not too bad. But what would be some things that we could do here in our code to say we want the background image, let's see, background position fixed. What do y'all think is going to happen when we do that?
The image will stay while the rest of the text moves.
Okay, let's see. Oh, do we save everything? What is this? No, it's still moving. What else do you think we need to do?
Oh,
Let's see. There we go.
better.
So, yeah. Background attachment fixed. So we refresh that, we can see that our background image doesn't move. You can barely see that though, right? It's not very apparent. Yeah. Let's look at our images, what we have in here, and see if we can find something that's maybe no. That may be good, right? Let's switch it to that one. Blue background image. So we'll go to blue background image. Okay. Refresh it. There we go.
Beautiful.
Nice. Right? Everyone say ooh. Everyone say ah. There we go.
Oh, I love it.
All right, so that's one thing we could do, but sometimes your background image, maybe you want to repeat it, right? Maybe you want the image to repeat over a series of, like, over and over and over and over again. Let's say that our scenario here is that we don't have this nice, big, gigantic blue background image. Actually, this is actually fine, right? For this instance, it's okay because our visual display. But let's say that we're using something a little bit different. Let's see. Where's another header? Let's say we're using the header instead. And I'm going to rename this header because I don't like that. Well, it doesn't matter because I think it'll auto type it for us. So let's, what is that? The Galaxy header. Yeah, there we go. So we'll replace it.
Whoa.
What? Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's kind of nice,
I missed
right?
it, but I'm gonna watch it
We got a bug though in our code. Can you all see the bug? Oh, someone used a high. Who did that? All right, there's an offset, right? This is a good debugging opportunity. How do we fix this? Well, we could go into inspected, and we can see this is right column, and right column, that's what's there. What is on our left column? Our left column, right? With right column, yeah. But our row, that's the margin for our row, 260. So it's kind of an interesting bug. I don't know why it's...
Is that the background color of the right color?
Of the body,
Of the body.
yeah. Yeah. All right, we're going to come back to this bug in a minute. We'll talk about that in a moment. Where did there you are. Okay, let's talk about another header that we could use. What about a background image up here? Let's go back to our code again. And we have this huge header container, but I don't think that's where we want that to be because we don't want to overwrite what is in our navigation. So here we have the background is white. Let's do a background image, URL. Inside the URL, let's do our images folder. And let's do that one. Now you'll notice that I'm not having to enclose this in quotes, right? That's really, it's up to you as far as if you want to enclose it in quotes or not. Okay. I always like to enclose it in quotes, especially if you do the naughty thing and you have spaces in the name of your files. Yeah, who would do that? Who would put spaces in the name of their files? Right? Yeah, disgusting. All right, well, what's another background image we could use? Let me see here. I had one on here I really liked. There we go. I like that blue header. It does, doesn't it?
Oh, thanks for picking up that image.
So we'll do this one as blue header. All right. All right. So now we can see a little bit of the difficulty we have here. If everyone looks closely, you're going to see a strange line that comes across the top, right? And if we're paying attention to what's happening, that strange line is because it's doing a repeat. So let's go back to our code. And we'll do background repeat. And we're just going to say no repeat for right now. Whoops. Okay. And if we refresh it, now we see what's happened. Yeah. So this can be useful though, right? Let's say that you have a really small image that you want to repeat, cascade repeat across the screen. That can be useful in those situations. But with the repeat, you also have other options that you could use. Notice what Visual Studio Code says here. You could do repeat X, only on the X-axis. You could repeat only on the Y-axis. You have round, right? Space, unset, and you can even use a var. It's a variable, right? Create a variable at the top of the screen, something that you could reuse everywhere. Okay, so let's put it back to no repeat. And if we look at the screen, this is what we have. It doesn't really quite work. So let's see what other app options we have here with our background. We could do background size. And let's do 100%. And now it's actually stretched out to cover the entire spot, right? The nice thing with using the background is this site is what we call responsive, right? Responsive means that the CSS has a media query in it that specifies at a certain size. It's going to take the right column and throw it underneath, right? So we could test it just by dragging this across, right?
No.
And it drops it. But because we sized it, we still got some things we got to figure out.
Wait, background size 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
background no wait, can you please pull that for you?
Wait a minute.
It's right there.
Yeah, you think of it.
Okay?
Background.
All right. Elijah, do you have a question?
Yeah, can you just minimize the page for a bit? I need to see the coding.
Okay. What is it you need to see?
The what says no repeat. There, background repeat, no repeat.
Oh, yeah, I recognize this.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Am I going too fast for everyone? Is it?
No, it's fine.
Okay. So let's think about here our background, the other options, right? What are some other things that we could do for our background? We have background, repeat, size.
Position.
You have position.
Is it even fixed or is it moved?
Yeah. Let's see. Our position, we could set it at 0, right?
Hold on.
Let's see, what else do we have? Size, clip, blend mode. There we go. Let's do lighten. There you go. Some of you are laughing like, that didn't really help. Let's do difference. Right? Very interesting. We're actually manipulating some of the colors like what you would do in a professional graphic arts program like Adobe or right? We're changing the luminosity, doing all of these things just through CSS.
What's that?
Right?
The
Hold on.
Okay.
like which image is that? The
It's the same image, Elijah. We're just adjusting the blend mode is all we're doing.
what's back? Oh, wait.
Okay.
What's that? The blend.
All right. Just look at the screen. You can see it from where it's at. Yes.
What is the sizes of the headers, the one that you use, the width, lengthening?
The size of the image itself.
Yeah.
So the blue header here, it says that, whoops.
There. Oh, I saw that. That's the width. and
Yeah.
height, right?
Hang on. Let me, there you go. You can see it. That image is 799 by 208.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
All right. So let's go ahead and look again at our page. So we have this information here so far. Let's take out that luminosity or the difference. You also have hue, right? Some of these are not going to give you the added benefit. I think we comment out our background. There you go. So you can see that the background color itself is affecting the hue, right? Cancel. So let's uncomment this and let's change our background color to something different. Let's change it to that, red. We'll save it, refresh. And we see we're actually adjusting the hue of the image through the different properties. Okay? Yeah. If we go back over here to, what was the other one, difference? What does it do with difference?
Oh,
Now it's using that red background as the difference to, right? I recommend to take time playing with these and getting to know what they do. Really, sociologists and psychologists, they talk about children, the importance of play. And it's the same for adults. You just sometimes have to get out there and play with the tools and figure out what it does and go, oh, this is kind of cool. And you learn by experimentation. So, take the opportunity and just kind of go through it and look at it, read about it, and see what it does. Here's an interesting multiply. What will multiply do?
oh, getting darker.
Yeah,
Mr.
some
Ron,
very interesting things you can do. Yes?
if I wanted to change the color of the header font only, how would I change that?
Yeah.
Stands out.
So the header font, let's say we're using multiply right now, and multiply is that color. Well, if we want it to stand out, obviously a good color to make the header would be white. Right?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. You guys are like, ooh. Ah. All right.
What did you, how did you add?
Okay. These are the changes so far that we've made. You can see that we've changed the background color to some kind of red. We've used the background image. We have a multiply, which gives you blending colors that are based on a background color that it's leveraged against. Okay. There's also things that you can do in here, like I think there's opacity. Maybe not for this one. Let's see. Is it? Yeah, let's look at that real quick. So if we want to change the background image opacity, let's see, background image,
Oh, you showing.
yeah. So we would do something like this. And we could say maybe 0.5. Okay?
Oh,
And now you're changing the opacity itself of the image. Okay? Now opacity has the same effect across the board, right? You can apply opacity to a text, to a div, to anything. It doesn't have to be an image. Opacity is something you can use across the board. And you can see opacity is just a statement of a number between 0 and 1. Okay?
So any number above 1 wouldn't work.
If you made, well, you could try it. Let's see, 1.5. Yeah, well, there is no opacity then, right? Because you're saying that this header is going to have an opacity of 1.5, which is, yeah, that is no opacity, right? Change it to maybe 0.2. And, yeah. All right, any questions so far? These are on how to manipulate background images. Yes?
can you right now, can you do the resize browser? I wanna see if it's actually, if it's full size,
What's that?
fitting
The image itself?
yeah, the resizing the browser thing. You see? I wanna make sure it's.
Yeah. So in this instance,
Oh, okay, thank you.
yeah, but you can see the background color
Wait,
is still set. You can see it right there, right?
Oh,
So all we're doing is just in resizing it doesn't affect the image because the image is a fixed size. Okay? So one of the ways you could probably address that is by
can you leave it like
Elijah, hold on.
oh,
yeah, exactly. 333 center RGB 252 46.
Are you good, Elijah?
Wait. 46. You are in no repeat 100% multiplied white. Okay.
All right. So one of the things we can do here,
Is this how it's supposed to look?
you can do a cover. And you can tell that as Visual Studio Code is telling us here, it says it scales the image while preserving its intrinsic ratio. So let's take a look. I'm going to turn off this opacity though for a moment because I don't think that's too helpful. All right, so now as I rescale it, you can still see it's preserving the
Wait. what's
size.
happened? Why is this red?
You see what I'm saying, Jerry?
huh? Yeah.
Yeah?
All right, thank you for.
Okay. Okay, so that's on your background images. Any other questions on background?
I was just curious about what was in the body element. So under the color, I want to know what that property was under the background. So we learned about the color and RGBA. I just want to know what that property was. Like F1, F1. In the body.
This one here?
No, in the body one. That's the color.
That's just
Yeah,
the
I know
color.
it's color, but like, what is that property called?
That's a
That's just the RGB.
So it's sorry, because I know we usually have the RGBA and then we wrap it around with parentheses and we input the values within that.
I'm sorry, this is the hexadecimal. That's
Yeah,
hexadecimal.
I know.
Yeah.
So it's called hexadex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So deca, like 10.
Yeah, and then hex is 6.
Hexadecimal is 16. So if you had 16 toes and fingers, then it might be normal for you to count in that way, right? But because computers count in binary, zeros and ones, hexadecimal is a natural.
There you go.
It's the doubling effect, right? Okay. All right. Any other questions? If they're not, I'm going to go ahead and commit some of these changes.
Okay, background detachments fixed. Oh wait, no.
Okay. I'm going to commit these real quick so you guys can see the process again. We're going to do git add. Remember, git add dot is staging it locally. It's saying, hey, go ahead and attach all of these files that changed, stage them for committing. And then we're doing git commit -m means message, and in quotes is the message that we're committing. So updates to CSS background images. Hit enter. All right, now they're committed to the local repository. And then git push -u origin main. Remember that origin, Elijah, just pause for a second here, okay? Because you're not going to be able to commit this to your repository because you haven't set it up yet. I'm just trying to get this out for everyone to hear, okay? Remember that origin is the alias name for the remote repository. Main is my branch. So technically, main, you could have something else besides main. It could be whatever the change that you're specifying. All right, so now we're pushing it. Okay. Please get in the practice of doing the process with Git. Okay. All right, so if we go back to our repository, those changes are going to be there that we just made. Okay. You can see there's our background blend, our header for our images. Okay. All right, so this is concerning backgrounds. Let's talk about borders now. Actually, let's talk about borders. When we're looking at our borders, we have naturally some edges that are occurring here. We have, what appears as borders based on the fact that the background color in one area has a hue and contrast difference than the background image in another area. But an actual border is something that you specify in pixels. So let's go ahead and open back up Visual Studio Code. And let's minimize that. Open up the HTML. We have our header container. We have our top nav. And if we look at the page, this is our page. I think it would be nice to maybe have a white line across the top as a contrast. Okay? It's just me totally spitballing a design decision, right? So let's look about how we would do that. If the class is top nav, we're going to go to our style. We're going to locate top nav, and we're going to set border. Now, there are a lot of different things you can do here with borders. The default would be something like this: border, 1 pixel, solid, and then your color. This property key value statement here basically says, hey, put a border around all 4 sides. That's what that says.
Oh.
So if I refresh it, you can see it puts a border, a white border, 1 pixel around all 4 sides. That may be not what I want to do though. So let's say border top. Now, if I refresh it, I only have that white line along the top. Okay? Does that make sense so far to everyone?
That makes sense.
Yeah. The other...
Wait, I saw something. Could you go back? There is that says link on the right side.
Uh-huh.
Right side. How do you how do I make them? How do you kind of make that link be together with the?
Well, the CSS is already defined for that. So if we look at the top nav A, we have for our anchors, we have this, right? Let's look at our index real quick. We have a style specified here on it exactly saying float to the right. And anytime you put a style attribute in the HTML itself, it wins, right? It's going to override everything. Now, I don't recommend doing this unless there is a really good reason to do that. But in this case, it was the easiest way to prepare this demo today. All right. But as you can see, the float right on this anchor, it says it puts it over on the right-hand side. That's what that does. Okay. So typically, you might have here something like user login, right? And you want it to be separate from everything else, right? If you go out to a number of different websites, you're going to see examples of that, where the login information is separated from everything else that is on the page. Some places they'll put the login information down in the footer. They'll have a meta section. It says login, administration, and everything else to keep it away from the users. It's totally up to you. My recommendation for security reasons is if you put it on the page, make sure you have your login finally secured. Because this is just a web development class on HTML and CSS, we're not really going to get into security and how to secure a credentialing service. Okay? But if you don't have a good way of securing it, then don't display it. Make it something that's not hidden, something that's not visible for robots that scrape the web, right? Okay? But for display, for visual, that's the general idea of why you would separate your links. Okay, back to borders. Let's investigate some other ways that you could apply borders. So we have here on our top nav, we've specified in our style a border background of white. We can also see that when we hover, there's a background change. Well, let's think about maybe we want on hover, maybe we want the border bottom to be 2 pixels solid black. All right, you see it? It kind of sets it out a little bit there, but not too much. Maybe we want to change it to something that matches the header. So maybe we'll choose red. So now we refresh it, right? We could make this a little bit bigger, maybe 5 pixels, make it stand out a little bit, right? Different things you can do with your borders. Okay, so this is border bottom. We have border top here. Let's take a look at some of the other properties that you can apply. Let's see, we've got this card here. Let's look at the card. In our HTML, we have class card, left column. Let's see, left column. Maybe we want to do something on our left column. Well, they're just stomping away up there. All right, on our left column, maybe we're going to do something like this. We'll say border right, because, no, left column, be border left, right? Border left. And we'll do 1 pixel. And instead of solid, let's do dashed. And dark gray. You can't even see it. Let's make it black. Left column, border left. Oh, you can see it. I'm on the wrong one. All right, I'm sorry. I was thinking of the right column. So let's make this border right. Okay, now let's refresh it. There you go. There's your dashed, right? What are some other ones we have here? We have it's going to give me all the options instead of, let's do it like this. We'll make this dashed for right now. You also have something called border style. So you can say border right style. And we have dotted, doubled groove, hidden, right? Inset. Let's do dotted. Okay, we'll take out this one. we'll do border right color. Let's make it dark gray. Dark gray. Border right width, make it 1 pixel. All right, if you think about it, this is shorthand, right? This is shorthand for what we see being done here. So it all depends on the amount of specificity that you need. Okay, so if we refresh it, really can't even see the change, but it is there. Okay, let's talk about some other things you can do with borders. So for example, on our card, let's say that we want to add a radius on all 4 sides. And a radius just means a curve. So let's say we're going to add a radius of 5 pixels. And that will be on this card, okay? Now this card applies to both, so you're going to see both this one and this one automatically be rounded. There's a subtle round that occurs. To make this a little bit bigger, let's go ahead and make that not that big. There we go. So now we have a subtle rounded with 20 pixels. What that's doing is it's using, you got to think about the radius in, all right, think about your geometry, right? What is the radius? The radius is not from, it's not the diameter, it's from the center to the edge. So we're saying 20 pixels from the center to the edge create that curve, right? So this represents a circle that exists somewhere around right there, right? Maybe right there. And I honestly, you can, from where I'm standing, I can actually see the pixels. So if I really wanted to get detailed, I could count them. But I'm not going to. All right, that's one of the ways that you can adjust your radius. But you can also do some things with radius where you make it a double number. It doesn't have to be a perfect radius. It could be something like 20 pixels by 5 pixels. And when we do that, we get this curve that rapidly drops off. So just a gentle arc, and then it rapidly drops off.
What if you want one side to curve but the other to stays?
Absolutely, good question. So you can do border radius. Oops. I can type, I really can. Border left radius. Oops, border left radius. Border top left radius, right? So now, where did it go? Border, oh, the top left is cut off, that's why. Let's do border top right. Border top right radius. Hang on here. I'm doing something wrong. There it is. Border top right radius. Right? So you can specify a certain edge to have the radius or not. Okay? All right, for fun, I'm going to make this all have a border radius. Okay? And we're going to make this a little bit more exaggerated at 50. Okay? And you can see that our style applies to both, so it's happening. And the card class is also being applied over here as well. Do y'all see that? Yeah.
Wait. Nick, when you look at the right side of About Me,
Uh-huh.
there's no space on the,
No, there isn't.
yeah.
Let's fix that. I just had an idea to take away that bogus looking side. Yes.
Mr. Rogers, I got the solution for that.
Yeah.
This looks like the right side has like an, how to say this, like a parent element that has the background color. I think that's like overlaying over the body.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Let's do this. I'm going to inspect it real quick because I need to know what that is. That is the right column. Okay, so right column. Let's go over here into this. Look for our right column. And I'm going to apply an opacity of 0.0. Oh, that didn't work.
It's the background color.
Yeah, we don't want the whole column to disappear. So let's see here. It is RGB A, right? And we're going to do 0, comma 0, comma 0, comma 0. There we go.
Yeah.
Little interesting things you can do to adjust colors.
Oh,
Okay, yes.
I remember you put the border, between a title head and About Me. You can, are you gonna like remove it?
Remove what?
The black line, the one that's next to the title head.
Is it still there?
Yeah, the right side of the.
All right. We'll keep this in our code, but what we'll do,
You can put that as a comment.
there we go. You must have really good eyes because I cannot see it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about something else that we could do here. We've looked at borders and border radiuses and different types of things, but sometimes if you can apply just a little bit of a shadow, you can cause elements on the screen to almost look like they lift off the screen. And you can apply shadows to text, and you can apply shadows to boxes, to images, to anything you want. For simplicity, let's go ahead and do a shadow, a box shadow. Let's see, where did my code go? Okay. Let's take our card. And right now, this card right here is, let's look at our code again. Here's our index. So we have class card. So we have, let's do this. Let's say card, and we'll create a custom class. We'll call it drop shadow. Okay. And then we'll come over here and we'll do drop shadow. That'll be our custom class. Okay. All right. So let's I've got some code here. I'm just going to paste in for simplicity. This is going to generate a box shadow, is what it's called. 5 pixels by 5 pixels by 10 pixels, right? Let's talk about what that is. The first set of numbers is going to be on the horizontal offset. The second one is the, horizontal offset. Second one is the vertical offset. And the last number is the amount of blur. Okay? the amount of blur. And then you guys understand what the RGBA is. We're specifying pretty much a black color with a half opacity. Okay, so if we look at this, we go back, we refresh, you can see a little bit of that shadow here at the bottom. All right, let's exaggerate it a little bit. Let's do a 15, 15, and make that a 20. Cancel. I keep hitting the wrong keys over here. So now you can see it a little bit more down at the bottom, right? We're setting the opacity on it. Now you can also do some other nifty things, like some people will have a flat image on the screen, and what they'll do is they'll apply two classes. They'll say drop shadow left, drop shadow right, and they'll specifically specify a vertical shadow on the right and a vertical shadow on the left with a small drop in it. And it actually makes a flat image appear curved. Kind of like curled up on the screen a little bit. Right?
Wait, I just realized. So I remember you cancel that, what did you say? Can you like save on Visual Studio Code and then reload the browser so that I can see if it's actually extended the bus tracking?
Yes, I just did.
Save the
Yeah, we just did, and it showed. For purposes of seeing this, let's make the color stand out to something different for a moment. We'll just do red.
Okay.
Because it is kind of hard to see with the glare in the room.
Oh,
Okay?
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. It does kind of match, doesn't it? Okay. All right, so these are some of the things you could do with drop shadows. Sometimes they move upstairs so much. I wear bifocals, and I have to, they're called progressives, and so I can look at you this way in the distance. Up close, I have to look at you in the middle, and if you're right here in front of me, I'm like, and the screen is jiggling. So you know what it's doing to me. It's like I'm having a conniption over here. All right. So let's talk about some other things we could do. How about text shadows, right? Text shadows are kind of cool when you think about if you've ever used a graphic design program. You may program your code itself to have a shadow in the image, and then you're taking the image and you're thinking, I'm going to do all of this outside and then import it onto my web page. But the problem when you do that is you take away all the flexibility, right? The responsiveness of your pages. How are we doing on time?
We're at 4:37.
4:37. Okay. So let's take an example again here. I was going to try to do this against the code right here, but this is already pretty dark. It's okay. Let's our header. Let's try it anyways on our header, and we'll change the color. All right, so we have my website, header, let's see, it's header H1, right? Header H1. So we'll go to the style, come to the top, here's our header H1, text shadow, very similar format, right? Now I'm going to change the color again to get a bit of a red on that. So we'll refresh it, and it's barely visible. You can almost see it. It's not quite there. We got to make it jump out a little bit more. Let's change it to a 12, and a 14. A little bit more, right? Y'all see it?
Yeah.
It's almost. It's not quite.
So it might maybe white.
Make it a pink.
Yeah. Oh.
Now you can see it now. You see it kind of hanging off the bottom?
How about red, based on the strings of the header thing? Yeah. You want
Let's change the opacity to 7. There you go. So that one's a little bit too high. Let's take our left and our right down to maybe 5. Still leave the blur to 14. That's a little bit better, right? Maybe 8 and 8. Let's take the blur down to 12. There you go. All right, these are examples of text shadow, right? Again, you can specify the direction you want it to go. You can send it any which way. Okay? Any questions so far? You're going to find in your textbook that you can actually apply multiple text shadows to the same item. So you can specify, I believe I think you can do it in a comma delimited fashion. So for example, we can do comma and let's do this as negative so that it's going from an opposite direction, right? So now you can see it's kind of coming both directions now, right? So those are your text shadows. You can do a lot of interesting things. I'm not sure if this is in our lesson today, but there's different types of like you can do a text outline. Okay. So the specification for this is that. Let me format the document. Okay. Whoops.
Oh, wait, hold on. Oh yeah, wait.
There we go. I pasted it in the wrong spot. There we go. All right. So we can have, remember that the WebKit is basically the how you deal with browsers that don't support the standard options. So here we're saying a text stroke of 2 pixels. And if we look at it, right? So you can do some really funky things.
Oh, wait.
Okay, let's change the color on this one to white. Yeah. What is your question?
Oh, when you know on the text shadow, there are 2 same colors, but I want to see. So I just playing around a bit. So change the color to like black and then save it and then reload the browser.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's make it yellow.
It's saved it. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
playing around. That's why I'm telling you.
Yeah. So here we're applying a couple different things. We've changed the, bring it down so you can see it. We've got an RGB, some type of yellow. We've got this is our text shadow, and then we've got a text stroke, right? We'll take it down maybe to 1 pixel. Did I save it? Oh, hang on. There we go. Right? So there's a lot of different options you can use for the way you make it look. All right? Last thing we're going to do, and then unfortunately I don't know if we're going to get into image maps. Image maps are really kind of old school technology, but you can still use them. The other things that you're going to see in your textbook are figure captions, which are just nothing more than just HTML for like an image or a subsection of information. But let's play around with some images real quick here. Let's go back to our index HTML, and we're going to go to the first card. Okay. And this says fake image, so I'm just going to do that. Delete it out for right now. And we'll do an image, and we'll go to our images directory, and let's do the bluebird in fall. Bluebird in fall. Okay, refresh it. What did I do wrong? Oh, there it is. Giant bluebird in fall. I'm in the wrong section. So let me copy this. And we'll come up here to this one. I'm going to put that back down below. Okay, there's the bluebird in fall. Ginormous image, right?
Yep.
And we don't want that. So let's go ahead and we're inside of our card. Let's see. We'll do a class on this, and we'll call this our tilted left for our class. Okay, tilted left. All right, and then our style, we'll just come down here to go down to the bottom. Well, we'll go to here. Right there. We'll do tilted left. First thing we're going to do, we're going to set the size of the image. And let's see. Let's do 50% real quick. Tilted left. Tilted left. Tilted left. Did I miss something? It's being weird. Width. There we go. Okay. Let's make it a little bit smaller still. Let's do 200 pixels instead. There we go. All right. As you can tell with the class name, what we're going to do here is actually we're going to tilt the image.
Wait. How do you make the text shadow be like solid instead of like blurring? Yeah, I got it.
The text shadow solid.
Yeah, text shadow solid. I just
Hang on, where's my mouse? The drop shadow as well as the text shadow. This third property here controls the amount of blur. Okay?
Okay.
This property controls the amount of opacity.
Okay.
So the spread of this color is 20 pixels. And if I say, where's our card? All right. If I say that I want this to be above 1 opacity, you'll notice that that's just going to be a more solid color. Okay. The blur radius
Okay.
you get it?
Okay.
So it's the combination of this third property and the opacity that gives you that ability. If I change the opacity back to 7, right? Make this back to 13. Make sense? Okay. All right. So we have our image. So let's. Where did I put it again? Tilted image. All right. We're going to use a transform property on this. So we're going to say transform, and we're going to rotate it a negative 15 degrees. Okay? Now we've transformed it. But you can do some kind of cool things here. Okay? Let me give you an example. Let's go back to our index, and here is our class, right? So I've copied it, and I'm going to paste it several times. Okay? But let's say I want these to be different, each one. I could use a class here for this, but because I'm kind of specifying a set of images that I want to be programmed a certain way, I might want to say tilt right larger. Okay? So let's go back. Oops. Go back to our style. I'm going to type tilted right larger. I'm going to give a width of say 350 pixels and a transform with a rotate of maybe 2 degrees.
Oh.
Now, have you ever seen those things where someone throws pictures down on the table? Okay. You can literally go for that type of design and style here. So if we look at this, I want this one to overlap that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a box shadow. Yes?
Can I go for a rest in peace?
Yes. Let's do box shadow of 12px, 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 RGBA, and we'll do this as 0.5. Okay? Right? It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. Kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of the things popping off the page a little bit. Yeah. Well, there's also in the transform property, you can do a 3D transform. So you can actually take the image and tilt it sideways as well. There's a lot here that you can do with your transform. So you can think on your websites, you don't just have to display your images in a way that's all like ordered left and right. You can maybe add a little pizzazz to it. Maybe you want to do some animation, or you have an image that kind of tilts and falls over on the page. And you can do all that now because in CSS you can do things called key sets that interact on actions or actually on timers. Okay, guys, we're at the end of the class today. For those of you who needed to come and chat with me about the exams, maybe because of power loss, you weren't able to finish the exam, please come see me so I can adjust that. If some of you had questions about your homework, please come see me, okay? Otherwise, you all have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.
Thanks, Mr. Humphries.
Yep, you're welcome.